Hello, and welcome to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with Astrologer Shelley Overton.
Hi, and welcome to the January 11th, 2022 edition of the AstroEnergy Astrology podcast. My name is Shelley Overton. I'm an astrologer in Orlando, Florida, and it's good to have you back here. This is the third installment of our 2022 astrology breakdown, and I'm not sure if it's the last or I'll do one more, but hopefully we can get through the rest of the year because I know it's kind of drawn out doing it over the course of 4 weeks, which I'm doing because there's just so much. And you probably understand that there's a lot going on right now. And I want to make sure I touch on a lot of high points in what I say. So let's get into it. First off, I'm just going to touch real quick on what's going on today. We have the moon joined with Uranus, and so there's going to be some strong independence energy around women, around money. It's about value. And so how are we valued in the marketplace? Do we value ourselves? We've got Venus at 17 degrees Capricorn, Sun at 21 Capricorn, Pluto at 26 Capricorn, Mercury at 9 degrees Aquarius, joining up with a Saturn at 13 Aquarius. Jupiter is at 2 degrees now of Pisces, and Neptune is at 20. I can tell you Jupiter in Pisces is honestly personally making me feel a little bit better. I am very creative right now. I've got a hair on my face here. I'm very creative, and I'm always tuned in psychically because that's the degree of my Saturn. That's where my career energy falls, and it's in the house of home and family for me. So I'm just really tuned into family members. But that being said, there's also an energy of responsibility, and I feel a real strong energy of connectedness to those in my family. And when I'm around them, I know what they're going through. I know how I'm perceived. And that's kind of like if you think of the opposite sign of Virgo, they're very aware of people around from a self awareness standpoint, that it's like, oh my gosh, I'm really self-conscious. And Pluto in, Pisces is kind of the opposite, that it's like, not only are you aware from a mental aspect, from a cognizance aspect, but you're aware from an emotional aspect. So if you're feeling that right now, it's not surprising. Definitely extra sleep is needed right now. And that being said, with Saturn, Mercury together in Aquarius, we're feeling a lot of alertness, and that can bring mental clarity, but can also bring like hyperactivity, mental hyperactivity. And so it may be harder to stay asleep right now. The planets are in that Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces section of the sky. And so it's the end of a cycle. We had another death this week. Well, we had two, I think, since the last time, two prominent deaths that most people would probably know in America, at least, and that is Sidney Poitier and Bob Saget. So both of them passed away this past week, and I'm going to probably end up doing a celebrity life review on the podcast after I finish the 2022 edition, because there have been a lot of celebrities making their transition with Betty White on New Year's Eve, and then Sidney Poitier and Bob Saget in Orlando, actually, just 2 days ago. So we'll discuss that after I'm done with this whole series. But yeah, it's an end of cycle with Pluto late degrees. Sun almost joined Pluto in late degrees of Capricorn. Capricorn is the elderly. It's the energy of the end of life and the end of the body. Venus is women, but it can also be people who are beloved. And we've got Neptune at 20 now. So Neptune is entering the final decan of that sign. And so it's its own sign. And the end of Neptune is the end of also a cycle of consciousness. So having Pluto in sextile to Neptune will bring about the end of celebrities, the end of people in the public eye. Capricorn can make that energy the end of public eye. It's very enduring energy. So Capricorn, Neptune rules film and creativity. So it's artists, it can be musicians, artists, dancers, poets, anyone in the humanities and aesthetic arts. And then Venus, of course, is now in sextile. I do see sextile as a good cycle, but I would say anyone who makes their transition under this energy is going to be someone that is well known in society, well known and beloved, like I said. So yes, Betty White, Sidney Poitier, Bob Saget, all of them had a strong place in our hearts in their respective fields. We're going to go over that. Like I said, after this, I think that'll be probably the first podcast I have through after the series. Okay, I'm only touching on what's going on in the sky briefly because currently, because we have a lot to cover with the rest of the year. Today, we've got Mars at 20 degrees of Sag. That is also making inroads into new territories of understanding, awareness, psychic growth, and spiritual growth. It's also growth within an educational setting or even a religious setting. We are expanding our worlds right now, and travel, definitely very strong energy around travel. Mars is exactly square to Neptune today. That's going to be, I mean, like it's within nine minutes of time. So they're both at 20 degrees, Mars 20 degrees Sag and Neptune 20 degrees of Pisces, but Pisces is at 53 minutes of time. Mars is at 42 minutes of time. So in the next couple of days, we're going to see those two join up. I hate to derail what's going on by looking this up, but it's so close. It kind of makes me wonder. And they square exact today at 4:43 p.m. So that minute of time is very important. So this afternoon Eastern at 5 p.m. Probably not getting this podcast up until this evening, or probably this evening, because I'm pretty dead on getting it as quickly as possible and trying to really do it fast so that you don't have to wait any longer. Okay, let's get into what's going on with the rest of the year. And I'm going to jump forward to the end of July. The 31st, the nodes will join with Uranus and Mars. What that means, Mercury is going to be in Leo opposite Saturn in Aquarius, but Mars, where's Mars on that day? Trying to find a Mars energy. Probably, Mars is in Taurus, Uranus is in Taurus, and then the nodes are in late degrees of Taurus. Very strong energy at that time, July 31st. So Mars, of course, taking action. Taurus is about monetary systems. Uranus is about clarity and also tech. And then the nodes of fate mean we're all collectively jumping on board with an idea. So overnight between the 31st and August 1st is going to be a really strong time. And then Mars in Taurus joins up with Uranus on the 1st at 7:53 p.m. Eastern, 4:53 p.m. Pacific. So it's going to be early in the morning in England. And so we're going to really see some strong energies around a shift of mentality around money, currencies, the collective, how we get along, women's roles. All of this stuff this year is going to be about the picture together and individuals and freedom versus how we take action on our own behalf versus the collective, individuals versus collective, foreign energy versus local energy, independence, value of self versus how do we fit in a value of the collective, so self versus others, all this year. And then add to that mix the COVID energy. And, it's so funny because I was watching, this is just an aside, I watched some YouTube videos, and it's funny to watch people say, well, I can't mention that word because we'll get flagged. I'm like, who doesn't mention that word? That word, we're all in this together. We're all going through COVID. I have yet to get flagged by that, that I've seen. Maybe they don't promote my videos as much on YouTube. I don't know. But, we're going through it. If you're avoiding that word in your algorithm, nothing's going to be out there because we're all dealing with it right now. Anyway, just had to mention that because I found that ironic that people are saying, well, I can't mention it. Of course you can mention it. Mercury enters Virgo on the 3rd of August. So we enter again, Mercury is in Virgo. It's healthcare workers. So the focus will be on that. The focus is going to be on health. And every time we get Virgo energy, we're going to look for the solutions health-wise. We're going to focus on healthcare workers. We're going to focus on what we could do in a practical, pragmatic sense. And so let me look in August real quick and see. And this is shaping up very much. I never think, I'm looking at all the dates going, oh, there's nothing. It's just a little here and a little there. But then I end up just going on and on. So yeah, we'll probably end up with a fourth show. And I would really like that to be an additional podcast this coming week, because this has got to end. This 4 episodes is a lot. But August, I don't see a lot of dates around COVID. I don't see a lot of those, like the most obvious in here would be the moon in Pisces and Aquarius, the middle of July. And then, of course, when the moon's in Pisces and Aquarius in August, and that happens the 12th, let's see, the 11th through the 15th of August. So those are kind of smaller triggers with the virus. Neptune's retrograde, which makes it act a bit more like Virgo when it does that. And then, of course, we're moving in August, late August, to the Virgo timeline, and that means more health awareness. Mercury in Virgo throughout the month until the 26th of August. And I'm just going to eyeball it here. So yeah, there really isn't as much in fall. Of course, kids go back to school in that time, but it just means that we're going to be more aware of how we can create health for our children and our families going to school. Mars in Taurus squares Saturn on the 7th, so more tech upset again. We've got Venus in Cancer opposite Pluto on the 9th of August. And so Venus opposite Pluto, you know, every time we have Venus interactions with Pluto, it just means that we have to really look at our values of women and mothers. So it's going to be even more obvious come August, and, you know, women are going to be in the spotlight, or women are going to feel more of the burden at that time of keeping things going. And then Mercury in Virgo in conjunct to Jupiter in Aries, that's going to be also school. You know, August, the kids aren't in school yet, but there's definitely some interaction with either school, healthcare, and foreign energies and travel at that time. Mercury can be accidents, especially in conjunct to Jupiter. I would say something related to starting a fire or airlines at that time. Full moon in Aquarius on the 11th of August. We've got Mars sextile to Neptune and a full moon in Aquarius. So I definitely think that that's some energy around making dreams come true again. Venus enters Leo on that same day. And so it's more about fun and play and the freedom to be more playful at that time, and dreams and having, I think by August, we're going to be so burnt out on more aggressive, hot temperatures and aggressive energy with the weather and with mindset. I think August is a time we're going to just want to cut loose and play and have a vacation. And then there's some more aggressive energy coming in with Mars and Taurus trining Pluto and Cap on the 14th of August. But it is material world. It is groundedness, which I think if we really go with the positive side of the trine, it's going to be about, hey, I know practically and pragmatically what to do, but it could also mean that we're going to be saying goodbye to some people. And it could be, again, more practical matters coming up around money and investments. And late August, Mars moves into Gemini, which again, travel, intellect, more, you know, of course, it's the 20th of August, so school time, going back into school, advance of COVID, because we have the Gemini energy with the moon on the 21st of August, which will be squaring Neptune energy, and in conjunct to Pluto in Capricorn. So that time of year, you know, it's ironic, but it's also predictable that when people go back to school, when events start to get more in the collective, we see these expressions of the virus come out again. Sun in Virgo, there's going to be more healthcare advances come the end of next year. And I actually noticed that as we get to the end of this coming year, Uranus retrogrades on the 24th of August, And Mercury retrogrades, it's like steroids for finding solutions. And I think the end of this coming year is going to be much better for health technology catching up to really getting a handle on variants, on COVID. By now we're entering, the third year of COVID at the end of this year. And so we're really starting to be pulling together around what we're going to do to make it less of an event and more, hey, we know how to handle this. I think I already feel that somewhat as these events get more peaks and valleys. We mask up more, we hole up in our houses more, we avoid people, and then, we can start to interact more as the amount of people who have it die down, and we start to feel more confident in what we're doing. I'm a little bit at the end of my energy right now, so I'm going to wrap it up. I will try and get to the rest of it soon. So hello, it's Shelley again, and this podcast is going to be through the end of 2022, and it's recorded a little bit later in the day than the last one. And just to bring you up to date, I thought I had recorded through the end of May, and so I started in June, but it turns out I recorded through the end of July, and now I have 2 out of 3 months that I already recorded. So what I'm going to do is throw that up on another location, which will be down in the description, so that you can watch that if you would like to. I think it'll probably be on my website, and you can go listen to the whole podcast unedited. And then I'll also throw up the edited version with all this added to the end of August. And so the extra June and July will be on my website, and I'll make sure that you have access to that before this goes up. And so, yeah, we're going to record the rest of the year today. And so I'm going to try and go over more of a broad picture of the months, because I just don't want to get into so much detail that this goes on forever. So I'm going to pick up here at the beginning of September, because I went through the end of August. Hopefully that is recording and not annoying. But yeah, it's later in the day, and boy, looking rough. Okay, the beginning of September, we're going to start out with a sextile of Mars in Gemini and Jupiter in Aries, which is really awesome because it's going to be really positive travel energy. And sextiles, I really love sextiles, but even though it is positive Mars in Gemini, means that actions can change. So I would recommend, if you are traveling the beginning of September, that you really double check your times and know that plans could change, but it's not necessarily for the worse. And I would say if your plans do change, your travel plans, that it's going to be okay. Take a deep breath. It'll all be okay. The moon is in Scorpio on the 1st of September, and it's opposite Uranus in Taurus. So moon in Scorpio, again, it's about personal value to others, worth to others. It's passionate, it's emotional, and it can get its feelings hurt. So just know that if you're feeling rather sensitive at that time, give yourself a little break, because Uranus and Taurus can be really detached. And what it can do is look at things that are much more material and not necessarily emotional, because the moon's acting emotionally. Uranus is acting very practically and in the use of the left brain, which is analytical. Venus goes into Virgo on the 4th. So it's going to be good for money for pharmaceuticals, and, pharma is going to get some good money from COVID solutions around that time. We also have the energy of Mercury going retrograde. So from August 4th until August 26th, Mercury will be in Virgo, and then it retrogrades, and going back into Virgo from where it is at that time, it goes back, it goes into Libra and then goes back into Virgo. And so from September 24th through October 10th, Mercury will be in Virgo again. So we're going to have a lot of time with Mercury in Virgo this year. And so healthcare is going to be a concern, or at least a focus. And that also means healthcare workers. Strong female women energy It could relate to any of the service industries. I'm just giving you an overview. There are a lot of things that will happen this year and a lot of details, but because I'm trying to get all of this done, I'm not going to be able to touch on every minutia. So it's really kind of just whatever comes to mind at the moment, and I'll use that energy, the intuitive side of what I'm doing here. So yeah, we're going to have from end of August and also throughout September, late September into October, Virgo energy is going to be really strong, because not only is Mercury going to be in Virgo, going direct and going retrograde, but also Venus is going to be affecting us in the feminine energy of Scorpio as of the 4th of September. And then we're going to have the sun in Virgo at the end of August. And there will be a full moon in Pisces on September 10th. And of course, that means that it's opposite Virgo sun. So there's a lot of strong Virgo energy starting with the end of August or throughout August and into September again, which means that the focus is going to be on health, on digestive health, on service, workers, the military, anything in those Virgo realms. So teachers, healthcare, military, the work environment, workplace. Okay, so you get it. Let me see, I'm just making sure. Yeah, I've got August on this podcast already, so this is probably going to get tacked on as a secondary video. In October 8th, Pluto goes direct. The 9th, we have a full moon in Aries, and that means that it's opposite a Libra sun. So as Pluto finishes up its time retrograde, again, throughout the year when we're doing the Pluto and Capricorn late degree energy, it's going to be about what we need to learn about responsibility. So what does that mean? How does that look in our own lives? Wherever Capricorn falls in your chart, that's where the issues are going to arise, whichever house, whichever part of your chart. And there are 12 different houses in the zodiac. It falls in my 3rd house. So it's about, am I getting heard? Am I able to get what I need to say out? And I can tell you it's been a long time since this energy has been affecting my communications house. And it's really frustrating at this point, because a lot of times I will speak up and people just ignore what I've said. So it's really showing us in very clear terms where we are not fulfilling a mission of responsibility that we're trying to get done. So we work hard, we hit it, which Pluto does. Pluto wants to really take ownership of something. It's very passionate. It's reliable and digs deep. It does its research. It's very clear-minded. It's cut and dry. And Capricorn wants us to own what we understand. But because of the restrictive nature of Capricorn, it's like we're not able to fulfill that. So that's helping us to learn a lesson about what it is that's super important to us. Pretty much your passion, pretty much a side of you that makes you who you are. It's that passionate drive in this life. It's also kind of, because Saturn represents a life purpose and Scorpio digs deep to our psyche, there's this sense that we have a mission to fulfill with Pluto and Capricorn, wherever it is in your chart. So when that's not getting fulfilled, it can be extremely frustrating. And so what happens as we get to the end degrees of Pluto in Capricorn, when it goes direct or when it's retrograde, the moment it goes retrograde, the moment it goes direct, there's like this release of energy. And I got chills with this, that there's this release of pent-up frustration that makes us want to just say, screw it all, I don't care anymore. And that's really what the next sign Pluto goes into, Aquarius, is trying to get us to really integrate into our lives. And so as Saturn in Aquarius has been showing us that kind of similar energy, like where are you wanting to be free? We're at end degrees of Pluto and Capricorn, getting ready for Pluto and Aquarius. Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, has moved into Aquarius already, and Jupiter expanded that area of the sky this past year. We need to let go. And I'm being very emphatic because it's a conversation I've had over probably 3 years now. especially when Uranus was in Aries squaring Pluto in Capricorn, we were getting this very strong message to let things go. And Capricorn and Pluto do not let things go easily. And I can tell you with the Scorpio in my first house, I get this message because Pluto rules Scorpio. I've been getting this very heavy in my life for 5 years. It's really time to move on. Okay, so the full moon in Aries at 16 degrees opposite the sun in Libra on the 9th, that's going to be this assertive energy that we feel with the moon, which makes us passionate, which makes us frustrated. Every time the moon is in Aries, these days, especially because of that strong passion from Pluto, we're going to feel that energy. Even though Pluto's in 20s, like 26 degrees, and the full moon's at 16 degrees, they are still, they're not in an exact square orb, but they're very close. And that means that we're probably going to see some aggression early October. And then we have the sun in Libra that really wants us in our identity, in our ego, to like, hey, let's just all get along and play nice. But the child in us is coming out with that full moon in Aries. And that means that the male energy again is being triggered. So again, it's a full summer into the fall of this Aries energy really rising up and having a say again. And then we also get into that time of year with the Virgo. So we have the Virgo in conjunct to Aries energy in October. And that's going to bring us some frustration because Virgo is very prim and proper, wants us to be in our manners, doesn't want anyone to act out unduly. Remember when Virgo's the issue, the first house, then Libra, the second house of manifestation, is about cooperation and balance and being nice, playing nice, diplomacy. So Virgo is the sign of manners and decorum, where Aries likes to break decorum. And so it means that we're going to see this frustrating energy come in October. And so, you know, it's an opposition. Aries wants to just get on with it and get it done. And Libra wants to sit back, think about it, and really find a solution between two factions. And so we'll see that. The 10th, so remember, the 8th, Pluto goes direct. The 9th of October, we have a full moon in Aries, which is passion and war, as is Pluto. So there could be some friction coming in early October around the rise of that anger and frustration in society, played out in the media, played out in the news. And then on the 10th, Mercury goes into Libra, which is now we can talk. Now the diplomacy happens and we can talk. And then on the 12th, we have a square between Mars and Gemini, which is the talk. Gemini wants to talk and hammer it out with Mars there. And then Neptune is kind of shy and just wants to escape it all. So on the 12th, you know, the fourth day of that little stellium going through these energies, we're going to have a bit of escapism and not really necessarily wanting to deal with things. And Mars wants to come up with multiple solutions, but do it in a maybe heavy-handed way or a very blunt way. And then the Neptune emotional side of us, sorry if I blocked my sound, the Neptune emotional side of us is saying, no, I am going to run away. I don't want to talk anymore. I want to escape. I want to hide. And so it's going to be a really frustrating time on the 12th. And I'm going to just look this up here and kind of use my ephemeris daily planetary guide to go on from there, because it's just so much information I'm really just trying to get through so we can have an idea of what the year is going to be like and then wrap it up so we can move on to other issues. Yeah, and so by the 14th, we've got Venus in Libra trining Saturn in Aquarius, which is a really positive forward momentum in air, meaning our thoughts and our desires, which is Venus in Libra. And then Saturn in Aquarius is, again, that earth energy from Saturn in the air, trying to come up with ideas and manifest them into a real solution and structures. Women are at odds with maybe the tech culture, or maybe there's something going on with, I will be honest, Aquarian energy is the tech culture. And because it is a more masculine denoted energy, that women with Venus and Libra, they have not integrated into the tech industry very well. And, the Aquarian, I know what I'm talking about, and the need to have personal power sometimes has superseded the energy of receptivity that women have. And so what I wrote for the 14th of October is that the woman's agenda, or a feminine desire and a feminine take on the tech industry, is at odds with like STEM culture and Silicon Valley, that kind of thing. That's the energy that's coming through intuitively for that time. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because that Venus and Libra trining Saturn and Aquarius can mean the rise of women in tech, or you may find that there's a storyline with women who have a stronger role in technology. That can also mean production online, YouTube, the industry of broadcasting, anything that is mass produced communications, publishing, all of it, publishing, radio, TV media, social media, news, all of it. It's going to be a really strong time for understanding the women's agenda in the collective, which may not have always been promoted. And then Saturday the 15th, the moon in Cancer, it enters Cancer at 12:11 p.m. Eastern, and then immediately squares Jupiter in Aries. So throughout the year, there are definite rises of friction between a receptive energy and an active energy, which of course is male-female energy. And so I think I align that with growing pains of the collective. Not surprising as we go through this year and then get closer and closer to Pluto and Aquarius next year. I do see good investments are likely with the moon in Cancer mid-October, moon in Cancer on the 16th, and Uranus in Taurus, really about security, financial investments, growing something good. It could be farms, it could be agriculture, gardening, plants, etc., food. Venus in conjunct to Neptune, Venus in Libra on the 17th of October, is kind of a weather and floods aspect in conjunct. Of course, Venus is desire, receptivity, but it's an air energy. So Venus can also connect to water element, and then having an inconjunct to the ultimate water planet, which is Neptune in Pisces. That's going to be difficult, especially because that's at 6 p.m. on the 17th. But 6:05 p.m. we have Sun in Libra trine Mars in Gemini, and that's, of course, Mars in Gemini is real strong fire, air, and then you have Sun, which is fire in air, Libra. So yeah, a lot of fire, air, and then just before that, in conjunct with air, water. So that's probably a strong weather aspect. Moon enters Leo later that night, which of course enters the fire energy again, and then trines to Jupiter overnight on the 18th. And Jupiter in Aries, we've been talking about it through this whole series, but Jupiter in Aries, expansion of more masculine drive, intention, ambition, sales, and then Leo. So that's really putting an authority energy at the spotlight, brash, more authoritative, but it can also, it's authoritative on one side, but it can also be a bully and braggadocio on the other side. So look for a rise of more masculine drive, and that can be with women too, but definitely creative, fiery energy coming out, actors really affected around that time. So that's around the 18th of October. And then all signs are really, there's a ton of energy affecting aspects between all signs on the 19th. We've got Leo, Libra, Taurus, Aries, Capricorn, and let's see if there's any Pisces. So it seems like all signs, or at least many across the zodiac, are really interactive on the 19th of October as we get ready for the Scorpio season. There's a big release coming in. I've got this highlighted. The 22nd of October and the 23rd, because there's a strong release with Saturn moving direct, and that's overnight from the 22nd to the 23rd. Then Venus moves into Scorpio on the 23rd, and the Sun moves into Scorpio. So it's about integrity for women, dealing with a deeper passion, a deeper commitment to partnership, and also the values of partnership and what we can gain from the money of partnering. Like how we produce something of value in that timeline. There's a solar eclipse and a new moon in Scorpio on the 25th of October. And so it's about relationships getting real and getting deeper. And then at the very end, we have more male aggression on foreign soil. So that tells me moon in Sagittarius, trining Jupiter in Aries. It's going to be more aggressive action with foreign. The thing that came to mind was like all of the aggression of Russia with Ukraine. We see like this need to take over neighboring countries kind of, and also storylines that relate to more aggression of foreign countries. And then there's a square between Mercury in Libra and Pluto in Capricorn. So that desire for diplomacy is questioned, but the beauty is Jupiter moves into Pisces on the 27th of October. And so Jupiter into Pisces, that's a retrograde action, I think. So as Jupiter retrogrades back into Pisces, because remember he was in Aries, and this is the final pass of Jupiter in Pisces. And then that means that there's the energy that we understand in a collective emotional sense. And I want to say, I don't want to say it, but I do want to impart it, that Jupiter from Aries to Pisces, it's an initiating energy going back to a past old energy and a transitionary energy. So Jupiter is a transformative planet. And so I think that that could be I'll just say what I think. I think that that could be a larger loss of life, whether it's COVID from the Pisces energy or aggression from war. The moon is in Sagittarius, and Mercury, which can be accidents or unexpected things from thinking, like we change our minds and we want to play two sides, because Mercury in Libra is about balance. It's about playing two different sides of the coin. But I want to just throw out that, the archetype of Jupiter in Aries going back into Jupiter in Pisces can mean that there could be a larger loss of life, or even a youthful energy. The youth can rise up and really challenge the old guard. There's a lot of archetypal imagery with this. On the 28th, Jupiter in Pisces and Moon squaring Neptune, which is the ruler of Pisces, and also opposes Mars in Gemini. So this is going to be an ideological shift that are more like friction, because the moon, the emotionalism of the moon is to grow and to move on. Yet Mars in Gemini also wants to have action, but they're opposite each other. And Mars is going to really cause some friction through action. Action is something that Moon in Sagittarius wants as well, but Jupiter rules the moon in Sagittarius on the 28th. So it's going to be, I just see behaviors associated with the actions taken, and even not having a set mindset is going to cause problems on the 28th. And also I would be very cautious traveling. It could be a time of difficulty with travel. Weather for sure is going to be an issue with Moon in Sagittarius, which is the travel aspect, squaring Neptune and Pisces, always seems to cause weather delays or weather activity associated with long distance travel, which is airline travel, end of October. Then you have Mercury entering Scorpio on the 29th. Positive energy, though, I will say that. Positive energy, Moon in Capricorn, sextiles Sun in Scorpio. and Moon in Capricorn sextiles also Venus in Scorpio, which means, of course, Sun and Venus are conjunct in Scorpio. And so that is very practical energy, but I even wrote, this is just me reading the energy quickly. And then I read my notes here and it says no plane travel at that time. Mercury goes into Scorpio. Scorpio is the 8th house of death and rebirth. It is passionate, so it can also bring in, I would say, a little bit more radical faction who is willing to die for a cause in its worst sense, but also martyrs. And then we have Mars retrograde in Gemini. Wow, I didn't remember that happened. So on the 30th, Mars retrogrades in Gemini, which is going to be the turn on a dime, once again, of attitudes and behavior. Attitudes are the Gemini and thought processes, and behavior is the Mars. So look for fraud, look for duality and duplicity, definitely self-absorption, maybe some male energy getting caught up in their own ego and ego issues. And then actually, that's interesting. Mars is men, Gemini, you know, Trump is a Gemini, and Mars retrograde gonna affect Trump. And then Capricorn, Moon's in Capricorn on the 31st. So that'll be really interesting. Moon goes into Capricorn at 9:21 a.m. on the 29th. And then, so Moon's in Capricorn 29th, and the 30th, Mars goes retrograde in Gemini in conjunct to the Moon in Capricorn. That's going to be a really interesting timeline. If something doesn't happen with the storyline of the ex-president, that's probably a time when something significant will happen. Also, yeah, Moon in Capricorn and Pluto, which will also in conjunct anyone with the Sun in Gemini. So it's going to be a really difficult time of year for Geminis come the end of October. The Moon moves into Aquarius on the 31st, Halloween, and then immediately squares Mercury in Scorpio and the Sun in Scorpio. So freedom is going to have to answer to our desires as a collective. Sun in Scorpio will affect us all, going deep, like digging deep. So this is an interesting energy. I know people born in the late 90s have Chiron at around mid-range Scorpio. So if you're born in the late 90s, you're definitely going to feel that one. And I've got to speed this up because I'm just getting way too much into all the details. The 6th of November, daylight savings ends and Venus squares Saturn in Aquarius. So Venus is in Scorpio and the Moon is in Taurus that day. So I think that's a significant day for monetary issues. And then overnight, the desire for understanding for women is going to potentially take a hit with Venus and Scorpio squaring Saturn in Aquarius. Again, Saturn in Aquarius is big detachment energy, but it's also about autonomy. And Venus in Scorpio wants to be very much emotional and intuitive, squaring that authority energy. So, you know, if you're really strongly influenced by Scorpio, and it's Scorpio time of year, November, we're going to have, and of course, also the Aquarian people are struggling to find solid ground or an area that they can really let their minds run free, because it is very intuitive and inventive. So this is going to be a time where you may be really frustrated because on Tuesday, the 8th of November, there's a full moon in Taurus. And then, of course, the Venus energy in Scorpio. So you have practical Taurus with the moon culminating, and that's at 16 degrees, right in the middle of Taurus. So it's finances, it's feminine energy, desire, beauty, money, growth, agriculture. I repeat because I guess I want to cover my bases. I want you to know that these are all the areas that can be affected, and definitely finance and economy. And then you've got Scorpio, which is about joint finances and the partnering around money, but also digging deep. And so it squares Saturn in Aquarius, which is letting go. And the system has to let go of what it's doing, or potentially is being pressured to let go because the collective emotion is very heightened with that full moon. It is potential because Scorpio, Taurus is the body, Scorpio is death and rebirth, and Aquarius is the unexpected. So there could also be some unexpected energy coming into technology, people transitioning, and definitely issues around money. And sometimes we can get depressed when there isn't enough money, or the monetary systems don't support us the way we have thought they would. Friday the 11th, the sun in Scorpio squares Saturn in Aquarius. So it's going to kind of reinforce that ego connection to a deeper meaning, keeping in mind that the sun in Scorpio is going to be in cooperation with its ruler Pluto. And so Saturn in Aquarius is going to take a hit in mid-November. So Saturn, again, technology. So what's going on throughout the year with technology is they are having to, like, I'm talking like Bitcoin or Facebook or any technological stocks, any technological companies are having to deal with this deeper intuition of the collective that is awakening to more covert behaviors. And because Aquarius likes to see things clearly, Saturn likes to make the structure sound, the system sound. This is a really strong year for finding how we can trust technology, because I think, and Scorpio's privacy is being really challenged. I mean, as an artist, I look at the terms and conditions of Facebook, which, you know, owns Instagram, and we're really not being supported as a collective as artists, because they basically say, yes, you own the copyright, but you also give us, as long as you post your art until you remove it, you give us the right to change it, to modify it, to sublet it, to use it in any way we see fit. And that includes third-party companies. And it's just insidious what's going on. And that also falls under Scorpio. So Taurus is art. Scorpio is terms and conditions in the 8th house, which is legalities. So artists are hopefully awakening to how their rights are being trampled on with semantics, the way they word things. We have no right. If we want to use this platform to promote the art, we basically give up all our copyrights. And I think that's insidious and not at all fair and not at all just. And justice is absolutely going to be the name of the game at the end of the year. So we'll see how that all plays out in November. Venus enters Sagittarius on the 15th of November, in overnight, actually. It's over time zones. So from 10 p.m. Pacific to 1:09 a.m. on the 16th Eastern, we're going to have Venus in Sagittarius, which is going to put a spotlight on air travel. The desire to travel will be very strong, of course, always seems to align at Thanksgiving time in America. And also, I think it's going to be Canadian Thanksgiving. Oh, no, they're October, I believe, late October. But yeah, it's going to be a spotlight on the desire for travel and freedom of borders. And then Mercury goes into Sagittarius on the 17th. So then Venus and Mercury will be in Sagittarius, which is education, expansion. You know the whole story of Sag, but it'll be more optimistic going into November. And let's see what else. We've got Mars and Gemini squaring Neptune again on the 19th of November. So learning how to be sensitive. It's more brash, harsh words, emotional. Again, every time you have Mars and Gemini doing something difficult, it's going to be duplicity and fraud aspects because of the duality, the nature. And I'm not saying Geminis are all that way. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it is covered under the umbrella of Gemini. Words, and whether or not words are, you know, reliable. Mercury enters, Mercury in Sagittarius joins up exact with Venus on the 21st of November, and then the sun enters Sag on the 22nd. So we really enter a very strong Sagittarian cycle between the 18th, 19th, 22nd, because Sun in Sag, and then the very next day, Jupiter, the ruler of Sag, goes direct, and a new moon in Sagittarius. So the last, wow, man, if I were to buy stock, I would buy airline stock in November. And I am not anyone in the market. I am an astrologer, but as an astrologer, to use some of the understanding of astrology with economics and finance, you know, Sun entering Sag, Venus, Mercury in Sag, Jupiter goes direct, and then the new moon, 1 degree in Sag. And I'm looking into stocks I can buy for sure. Okay, very optimistic, and also very optimistic for housing. If you are selling, I would say selling or buying, but definitely the housing market got chills with that one. November of next year, we're in 22. November of this year, going to be really hot. Moon enters Capricorn on Friday the 25th, so I would say that's probably a day where it gets real, and you might come down to earth a little bit if you put an offer in on a house. And then Mercury in conjunct to Uranus and Taurus, so that's a money aspect on the 27th. That's going to also be a little bit sobering for finances on some level. Tech, science, and internet issues come with Mars trying to Saturn in Aquarius, Mars in Gemini on the 28th of November. And then it's optimistic with Mercury in Sag sextile to Saturn in Aquarius. Travel is going to be really interesting on the 1st of December. We've got the moon in Pisces squaring Mars in Gemini. We've got Venus in Sag opposite Mars in Gemini. And we've also got moon conjunct Neptune. So it's going to be like this giant T-square between Pisces, Gemini, and Sagittarius with the planets. And the good news is later in the day on the 1st of December, Venus in Sag sextiles Saturn in Aquarius. So if you're having trouble up until the afternoon and early evening, also there's a conjunction of Jupiter in Pisces with the moon in Pisces at 9:44 p.m. Eastern, but Mercury squaring Neptune at 8:08 p.m. So what happens is there's all this squaring energy frustrating you as a traveler, probably due to weather. And then when Venus gets to sextile Saturn in Aquarius, you're going to free up some opportunities to get those travel plans squared away and get where you need to go. But definitely it'll be frustrating early in the day on December 1st. Let's see, there will be relief with the Neptune moving direct on December 3rd. And that's going to come from, you know, like, oh man. So Neptune's in station on the 1st of December as well. Not only is moon in Pisces, but she answers to Neptune stationing. Yay. So moon entering Aries at 11:41 p.m. on the 1st. And so then moon in Aries, trining Sun in Sagittarius. Travel will start to loosen up around early December 2nd. And then the 3rd, moon Aries sextile Mars in Gemini, also good. Moon sextile Saturn in Aquarius. And then Neptune goes direct later in the day, 7:15 p.m. Eastern. So the 3rd of December, it's going to be a shift of energy, but I think you're going to feel it because, again, Jupiter is a co-ruler of Pisces, and Neptune moving direct with, let's see, Venus and Sag. So Venus is answering to Neptune also in a way as that Jupiter co-ruler of Pisces. It's going to be better. So try not to fly the end of November, but good luck because that's Thanksgiving. And for some reason, last few years, Thanksgiving's always hell to get back home. And it's probably not going to be any different. But if you can put off going home to like the 2nd or 3rd of December from your Thanksgiving travels, much better, my advice. Okay, let's see. Mercury in Sag squares Jupiter in Pisces on the 5th of December. So again, that's also not a really great day for travel, but a full moon in Gemini on Wednesday, the 7th of December. That's going to be conjunct to Mars in Gemini. So there's going to be a lot of activity around travel. Definitely a big travel time on the 7th. Probably, again, everyone who couldn't get home the end of November or first day of December is probably going to get home by that full moon on the 7th. And then Sun Sagittarius opposite Mars Gemini. This is also, okay, everything Gemini, everything Sag, travel, expansion of intellect and ideas, expansion of mind. So it's mind versus letting go of the decision making. This is an energy where sometimes you have to just like jump off the cliff and know that the chute's going to open at the right time. So it's kind of a free fall on the 8th. And then Venus Sag squaring Neptune Pisces again, desire to act versus where your heart really is, and then they're going to be at odds. So just know that's coming. December, trying to wrap up before my microphone dies. December, mid-December, we've got the Sun Sag squaring Neptune, and that's Pisces, and then the moon's in Virgo that day. So again, it's difficulty with education. And I want to say, let me just look real quick at December. Yeah, we've got some energy around the end degrees of Pisces with Jupiter before it goes into Aries. So the first 3 weeks of December is going to be a very big ending. Again, I mean, we've been feeling it this year, early in the year, like the last day of December with people transitioning in the public eye. It's going to happen again in 22 at the end of the year with Jupiter at the last degrees of Pisces. So anybody who's been really having health issues, they're probably going to make their transitions in December. I've got chills with that. And then Neptune also at 22 Pisces. We've got Uranus mid-range of Taurus, which rules the body. Pluto's at 26 Capricorn, the last 2 months of the year, and goes to 27. Remember, March 22nd, I believe. Yeah, March 22nd, 23 is when Pluto goes into Aquarius. So as this year wraps up, cycles definitely are repeating a bit. We're going to see some similar activity for travel for November, December, and then again, transitions at the end of the year. But I do think towards the end of the year with the strong Virgo energy and some Sagittarius energy, I think that we're going to do more traveling. There's going to be more integrated, I got chills all over with this, more integrated energy with countries. And I think women's issues, Black Lives Matter issues are going to come up. And again, some more aggression with men. I mean, it seems to me there's a certain amount of copy repeat going on with this year. It kind of reminds me of 2019 a bit. But anyway, that's kind of where we're at. Please do like and subscribe below. Share if you can. I have this other video that I did this morning, and it's much, I would say personally, a little bit more tedious because there's a lot of information, a lot of detail, which some of it overlaps with last week's part 2. But I'm going to make that available, like I said, if you want to watch all those details that kind of overlap June, July. And then all of August is there. I'm going to probably edit this so that August is in this video with September, October, November, December. And that's it. We wrapped it up. So congratulations if you've watched it all. It's a lot. I get it because I've been editing it. And I'm really trying to just make this last video less editing and just going spontaneous off of the information. All right, that's all for today. Long day, and I wish you the best for 2022. It's going to be another rocking and rolling year, but I have a lot of positive feelings towards the end of this year into next year. I think Aquarius Pluto is going to brighten us up a bit. It's going to lighten a lot of the intensity that Pluto and Capricorn has brought. And because the end of the year is Scorpio time of year, before we get to that Sag, November, December, and then the Pluto, Neptune energy, or not Pluto, the Neptune, Pisces energy, squaring Sag, which can also create some of that friction. I think that we're going to really be in alignment for good positive energy for 2023. Haven't looked at that year yet, but just the fact that Pluto's in Aquarius, which is a huge detachment energy. Yes, it can affect us psychologically. I think that it will bring us to a point where we have to truly get on board with our own mental health. That's really going to be a big focus, I believe, for 23, because Pluto rules mental health industry and our own belief systems, and moving out of that structure that is traditional. It's like, okay, this is what you do if this happens, and this is how we label it. And that system, I'm trying to get that word out, systematization of how we look at mental health is going to really shift when it goes into Aquarius, because Aquarius is clarity. Aquarius is that quicker mindedness. So it's really the deep emotionalism of Pluto with the clarity of Uranus and the Aquarius energy. And that's really going to springboard us to being able to detach from some of the deeper emotionalism that, really to me, mental health is emotional health, and that it's like trying to integrate our emotions. But because we are such a mental left brain society, next year with Pluto showing the emotional belief system, having to see the light of how we integrate emotions into our mindset, that's the big thing as we get into 23. Of course, Pluto will retrograde back into Capricorn for a period of time, over, I think, 1 or 2 years, maybe a year and a half, and then end up finally in Aquarius where we can go on forward. But I do see that as being a huge shift with the mental health industry as we get closer to 23, because everyone's going to be going through it. We're already seeing a tremendous amount of mental health awareness because of what we've been dealing with the virus and with our own systems breaking down because of that. So I look forward to 23. At the same time, it's going to be a very, very big year of mental health and emotional health awareness. Okay, that's all for now. I'm wrapping up. I'm calling it in the can with this particular series. So we'll see you in the next week, and then we'll go over some of the shifts and changes with people who have transitioned next week, and then give you the news from the woebegone. And thank you for popping in. I'm going to put some links down below for my website if you're interested in getting a reading, and for my artwork. I did post a new art video on this same channel if you're on YouTube, so you can check that out. But anyway, thanks for joining me. Keep an eye out for a new video soon and a new podcast on SoundCloud, and we'll see you back real soon. Bye. Take care. And antonym, kind of antithesis. What the heck is the word? It's like, so Venus goes into
Hi, this is Shelley. Thank you for joining us this week. To contact me for a private reading, go to angeliczodiac.com under the Readings tab. Background music was provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. To purchase my ebook, Learn Astrology, you can find it at angeliczodiac.com, including discounts. Be sure to check back next week and subscribe through iTunes at AstroEnergy Astrology Show.